Hey everybody, Jim Benson here from Modus Institute and the Collaboration Equation. And this is our third installment of conversations on Collaborwocky, our conversations about collaboration, with JB Rainsberger and Jurgen Appelo. And the conversation this time is about collaboration theater. What do we do and say in public that gives the appearance of wanting to work together? Let's listen. Collaboration theater, JB.
I don't even necessarily have any particular examples in mind here, but I'm sure there must be. We have security theater, we have planning theater, we have quality theater, so we must have collaboration theater. So what are the kinds of things that we?
Awesome.
What's that?
You're just making it up. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I mean, I talked previously about my personal connection to, say, satir interaction model or E prime as ways of becoming aware of parts of my behavior that I wanted to change. And part of that is wanting to, be a better person, whatever that means. But also part of that is sort of rests on the idea of modeling behavior as a non-threatening way of influencing other people, trying to stay on this side of benevolent manipulation. And so, but I can see that becoming benevolent manipulation. I can see weaponizing vulnerability or weaponizing openness in a way that creates threats instead of avoiding them. In fact, I know that in my past, I have used phrases like, how could you possibly think that about me? And that's kind of a form of collaboration theater or communication theater, right? Like, I'm saying I want us to be open, and yet when you're open about something that I don't like, I jump on you and send you a clear signal that you shouldn't talk that way. You shouldn't say those things about me. And there must be examples of this from our past that we can share. Whether we can recall them right now or not, I don't know. But
I see fake collaboration and fake magnanimous behavior often in certainly in upper management and in sociopaths and narcissists, especially, because that is actually their weapon of choice. And so, but one of the things that I see in quote unquote normal folk is I have worked with many companies that have bought in to the idea of servant leadership without actually having people who are interested enough in figuring out what it actually means. And so they just actually become absentee landlords.
Right. And so yes, in the guise of making room for people to grow, I mean, that doesn't mean leave them to their own devices and hope for the best.
And that's the way it is interpreted quite often. Is you come to me when you need something, otherwise I'm going to golf. And and oh, by the way, everything's due by exactly this date, and you have this much money, and now don't talk to me anymore because you're self-organizing.
You know what? Come to think of it, I can remember one particular manager in my past from whom I heard all the time, I believe in you, you can do it. And that's a perfect example of this sort of weaponized servant leadership bullshit, where that is code for leave me alone and figure it out on your own. Good luck.
And let me take credit for it when it works.
Yes.
Well, I certainly think you're onto something, JB. I would suggest a new metric, which is the sticky note / customer experience ratio, where I think I have seen some environments with a very high amount of sticky notes, but not much success in the customer experience side, as in Net Promoter Score or whatever. So ultimately, it's about the outcomes, of course, for our users and customers, and not so much how much we have discussed sticky notes going around the office. And whether sticky notes or whatever, I'm sure this happens everywhere. I have been working on my own for the last few years, so not many sticky notes that I needed in my little office.
Yeah.
Uh,
Fairly easy to agree with yourself. Yeah.
Pretty easy to.
Yeah.
But for sure, I have been in such situations in the past where we did a lot of discussing and endless conversations about customer needs, etc., etc. We didn't come up with anything useful ultimately for our clients that they appreciated and wanted to pay for. So yeah, interesting topic.
Well, and that's got to be a big thing, right? Is the discussions without resolution. So we see this in a bunch of different ways, right? So there's the retrospectives that end up becoming periodic discussions of the same problems over and over without any actual actions or resolutions to them. And I have a trick for that. As well as, I guess, sort of the think of it as sort of like play date style collaboration, where some vice president or some C-level executive sets up play dates for teams who don't have any say in who they are supposed to be working with. And therefore, there's no real attempt to build any trust. It just becomes sort of this grudging peace. And we'll fish on our side, you'll fish on your side, and nobody fishes in the middle. And maybe we'll send documents back and forth as a way of avoiding talking to each other. And otherwise, there's really not a lot of collaboration. There's just sort of, I'll do my bit and you do your bit, and let's try to stay out of each other's way. And that's where some of the advice in a book like Managing Transitions becomes helpful, not because this is a transition, but because some of the advice in there really is about being overt about when you are putting two groups together and not just being the absentee landlord, but actually saying, okay, you might not have any natural reason, built-in reason to talk to each other and work together, but we need you to do that. Let's do some things. Let's create some activities. Let's do whatever it takes to start that conversation, to actually kick that off instead of, as Jim says, just putting them together, hoping that good things happen, and then walking away and heading out to the golf course.
So there's no structure initially for those two groups to work together, to collaborate.
Right. And especially if they don't know why they've been put together in the first place. That wasn't their choice. Somebody just tapped them on the shoulder on Monday and said, "Oh, congratulations, you're working together now."
Exactly. And in their heads, they're thinking, all of my dependencies, or all of both of our dependencies, lie with group 3. You haven't even brought group 3 into here.
Right.
So even if we work together, so they're not only are they going to be like, why are we working together, but they're going to be like, why aren't we working with X, Y, or Z?
How many meetings have you been in where we realized that the most important person in this conversation is not in the room?
Not in the room. Yeah. And everybody knows.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that, I didn't put a dependency ticket up here, but I do have the without constraints one, which is the next one. But is dependencies drive me crazy, because dependencies is nothing more than you not understanding who you're supposed to be working with.
Yeah.
And then being surprised or surprising them with work. And so being able to have that language as a manager and say, we're putting you two or three together because there's a lot of dependencies coming up in your shared work, and you need to figure out a way to work as a larger team, even if there's more than 7 plus or minus 2 of you. Yeah. And then find a way to facilitate that happening. And in teams and companies that I've seen that are good at that, they're the ones that just have infinitely less problems with siloing and frustrated professional growth.
For me, the hilarious thing is that even programmers don't seem to get this at the lowest level in their code. They'll have modules that have this really complicated interdependency. And I just look at that and say, well, that should just be one module. Like just smash them together, make them one big thing. And then inside there, now you have the freedom to figure out how to tease things apart if they should be teased apart, or maybe it should just be all one thing. And so I'm not sure what makes me more sad, the fact that even at the level of code over which the programmers have total control, where they don't have to worry about the code consenting to being put together, that they don't even do that. Like, it doesn't occur to them that it's okay for them to just smash these two modules together and make them one. Or that people in leadership, I should say, I don't mean leadership, people in management positions act like it's utterly impossible to take those two teams and unify them for the purpose of giving them the opportunity to figure out how to reorganize themselves, how to actually do this self-organizing thing that we keep saying we want everyone to do. Well, how about you identify the dependency, tell them that they depend on each other, help them understand that, and once you've got their agreement that dependency is an issue, then put them together and let them figure it out.
Or
don't go away. Don't go to the golf course, but be ready to act as an advisor.
Yeah, that should be an expectation of professionalism. That you're just a software craftsperson until you figure that particular thing out. That when a piece of code requires a certain professional action, which usually includes some type of collaboration, you are expected to do that. Not that you can, but that in order to actually be a good coder and not leave two exploding semi-connected modules, but actually make them a coherent single module, that's what a professional programmer would do. That's how we stop 737s from crashing into the ocean.
And also what a capable manager would do, put those two teams together. If you have to lock them in a room, that's fine. I mean, lock yourself in with them. Don't go to the golf course, but yeah.
I was just thinking, putting people together is, of course, one thing, but there's a lot of psychology and sociology that needs to be addressed there. The whole identity thing of teams is not something to be ignored. I mean, we are our team and they are their team, and we're not the same thing, even though we have plenty of dependencies among each other. Hey, I live in a country that is heavily dependent on Germany, but don't pretend that it is one and the same thing, and don't put us together in one unified Germanic something. We are our own country. Thank you very much. That's a bit the same with teams and other kinds of units. There's a reason that they have separate identities, and yeah, you should put it together in a room every now and then to resolve them. But that's different from just merging them.
And I want to rescind my language. I don't like put together. That's the old me coming back. Bringing them together, right? Because putting them together has this vision of the puppet master, and that's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about smashing them together and saying you're a team now, but bringing them together and say, look, we need to have a serious discussion about how much you depend on each other now, and maybe for a while it would be wise for you to act a little bit like one big team. You don't have to give up your individual team identities, but I mean, it's
well,
we also have a problematic country that we rely on an awful lot, and that's
Iceland
how things work.
Isn't that bad. so for me, I want to go that one step further, which is that one of the things that I've loved about the COVID era is that all of the software teams that I've worked with, regardless of parts of the vertical, actually all teams, period, is they've started saying, why aren't we planning our work better? Where they used to say, why aren't you planning work better for me? Now they actually want to be involved, because they went from having a limited view of what was going on to having no view of what was going on. And so I want the teams, when they get together and plan out their work, to be able to say, all right, we've got these 5 tasks. These 5 tasks are pretty big, and they all rely on the elephant team over there. We need to get together with the elephant team and co-plan this work. and not wait for the manager to come in and say, given the, since you're in the oubliette or my panopticon and I've seen all of your work, I'm now giving you the opportunity to work with these other people, but actually make that an assumption that as professionals, you give a damn about what you're about to do, you give a damn about what you're doing, and then when you're done, you look at it and you give a damn about what you did. And you, again, to bring Akoff back in, you have all three of those learning loops in, and you recognize that we as a team are an object and we exist for a reason, but that doesn't mean that we exist independent of the rest of the company. And that sometimes we're, it's like we're boats, and sometimes we float up to this boat and sometimes we float up to this other boat. But when we do, we need to actually be looking and saying, oh, hey, the boat, and then working with those people to get that work done.
I wonder to what extent the pandemic and this huge shift in the literal mechanics of how we work together has helped, in the sense that when we were in the same building, one of the collaboration theater things we could do is I could just walk over to your office and interrupt you at any time and pretend to be having a real conversation with you about something important when it might not be at all. And because now it's much more difficult to do that, we have to coordinate. I have to send you an invitation. I have to maybe put together a meeting like this. If nothing else, it's forced us to act much more thoughtfully about what work we need to do together and what work we can do independently. And because I can't just go over and ask you a question anytime I want and expect and trap you into giving me an answer because I'm staring you in the eyes, right? That's not the same as in a chat room. In a chat room, I can send a chat message and Jurgen can ignore my chat message for 3 days. And I can't walk over to his office and trap him into giving me an immediate answer by looking him right in the face and giving him the feeling that he needs to answer me now. I wonder if those kinds of things have actually helped us become more intentional about what kinds of work we do together, and have made us more aware of the cost of taking other people's time. And therefore, I treat your participation in this thing more as a precious commodity than I would be if I could just walk over to your cubicle and bore you for 10 minutes with a pointless conversation, as we used to do so often in the office.
What I like about the Zoom world or the Slack world now is that all of those conversations are now written. They're copy and pastable, and they all are in fairly open channels where they displace useful information, and then no one knows what happened, what's going on at all.
It's the bar room. You had to be there.
So this was a great conversation. So thanks guys. And I certainly know who you are, but do you want to do a quick kind of post introduction of yourself and then tell people how they can get a hold of you or ways that you would like them to learn more about you? And we'll start with Jurgen.
Hello there. My name is Jurgen Appelo. I'm in the Netherlands, Rotterdam, awesome city. And I am the author of Management 3.0 and Managing for Happiness. And if you will want to learn more about me, I have a website, jurgenappelo.com.
All right. And JB.
Hi, I'm JB Rainsberger. Some people call me Joe, and some people just know me as J Brains. I am, well, let's just say I started life as a programmer, and I can still write code, but I'm much more interested in helping programmers figure out how to work with less stress. So whether it has to do with technical skills, people skills, planning skills, whatever it takes, whatever the sources of your stress are, I want to try to help you with that. My inbox is always open. You can always go to ask.jbrains.ca. That's .ca for Canada, also an awesome country. And as long as you're willing to wait forever for the answer, that service is free. That's part of my commitment to you, is that I will answer you eventually. And if you need answers sooner, We can talk about how much that costs, and it's less expensive than you might think.
All right. And I'm Jim Benson, and I thank both of my guests, whom I love dearly and because of COVID have not been able to see in an incredibly long time. Most recent book on my site is The Collaboration Equation. Look at that little fly out there. Isn't that awesome? And also teach at modusinstitute.com. And thank you both for these conversations. This was a wonderful way to spend some time. And I very much look forward to seeing you both very soon.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Jim.
Love the invite. Thanks, Jim.